meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District to order on October 26, 2017 at 9:05 a.m. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Here. Cruz. Daniels.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Gaylord.
Here.
Guerra.
Here.
Hanson.
Present.
Harris.
Here.
Kennedy. Lee.
Stephanie Nguyen here for Mayor Lee.
Thank you. Natoli. Peters. Cerna. And Terry. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Mr. Chairman Terry and
Thank you.
Supervisor Natoli are on their way. So if we get everybody join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. If the clerk could please read the announcement.
The meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District is cablecast live without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T U-verse cable system. This meeting is being closed captioned and will be webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated on Saturday, October 28th, 2017 at 2 p.m. and Monday, October 30th, 2017 at noon. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker form located on the table at the back of the chambers and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Also at this time, please silence your cell phone until the conclusion of today's meeting.
Great, thank you very much. We have no special presentations today, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great. We'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is, I believe, our Air Pollution Control Officer's Report. Dr. Ayala.
Good morning, Board. Thank you, and always appreciate you making the time and joining us. Let me wait for the slides to come up. I have a very brief report because we have a full agenda for you today. We have three distinct discussion items that we need to bring before you. It's information that is relevant to us, but most importantly, I want to make sure that this is on your radar so that any questions, comments, concerns that you have for us, that you can convey those to us. The reason we have a full agenda, as you know, this is our last meeting for the year. We will not convene until the next the new year, and we wanted to make sure that we brought the things that we need your direction on. But anyways, let me go ahead and highlight a few things for you. The first one is, over the last couple of board meetings, you've heard us talk about some of the new cap and trade investments that the state has generated and that we hope will be channeled through district action. And we think that Sacramento and our district and our region and our partners obviously are well positioned to take advantage of some of those investments because we can be the experiments on the ground that actually prove that these technologies and solutions are actually going to be what the program intends. And one of the big areas that you're going to hear us talk about is hydrogen. Hydrogen is a key transformational solution, and what we are trying to do is make a play on that. And this project that has been submitted to the state for approval, we don't know if we are going to get it, but we're very hopeful. And what this is really taking out from an existing locomotive a combustion engine and everything that comes with it, and replacing in it a fuel cell clean technology based on hydrogen fuel. So this is huge for us because I do believe, as I get more familiar and comfortable with the opportunities that we face, I do believe that where it's at for us as a region and given the makeup of our businesses and our structure, we do need to make a big play on hydrogen infrastructure for medium and heavy duty applications, including locomotives. This is a big project. It's a long list of partners, but I think it's going to be a huge opportunity. It's going to be game changing because I think it can bring the region to a place where we haven't been before, where we have not been able to compete favorably because we just don't have the infrastructure that is needed to demonstrate some of this technology. So I wanted to put this before you because we're in the run. And I hope that if we get it, that we get you out and express support as representatives. If we don't get it, I also want your help to make sure that we voice our concerns because we think that we have a perfect proposal. The next thing I want to highlight for you is obviously technology and mobility are going to continue to rely on engines and locomotives and cars. But one important aspect of moving us forward is also what is called alternative active transportation. Bicycles obviously come to the forefront of that concept. And I'm really pleased to see, I'm very proud to share with you that the district is very engaged in doing a lot, including in sponsoring events like the Rio Velo Festival that took place October 14th, to try to promote alternative transportations and active transportation and try to get folks, people out of their cars and into bicycles. And the event was very well received, so I wanted you to be aware of that. Different subject. We are also, as part of our strategy, growing our collaborations, and obviously locally and regionally that's a priority. And I want to thank explicitly Director Frost, who attended our fueling infrastructure workshop at our district offices. I was very pleased to learn that there was participation from some of my fellow air pollution control officers from the region, and the subject that was discussed is fueling infrastructure. And again, this is very consistent with the project that I described for you on the locomotive in terms of, how do we move our region with the necessary infrastructure, the fueling alternatives, so that we can begin to tap into these alternative technologies that the state is funding. And eventually, we will see federal funding in these areas as well. So the regional partnerships are very important, but also I want to share with you that our name, the district name, is also getting noticed in different venues. The Institute of Transportation Studies at UC Davis is, if not the leading, one of the leading academic entities looking at the future of sustainable transportation energy. And the district has a seat at the Board of Advisors for ITS. And this is great because anything we do on the ground, we need to make sure that we have evidence to back up the actions. And UC Davis ITS actually provides that. We're also continuing the tradition that Larry Green started with very significant engagement from our district at the national level, specifically with the National Association of Clean Air Agencies. And we are going to continue to play a leadership role, specifically on one of the committees that is looking at climate change and global warming. I can't tell you what the agenda is going to be. We haven't formulated that. NACA itself is under new leadership, so there's a transition taking place. But the fact that the Sacramento Air District is on the leadership of that national association, I think, is reflective very positively of some of the previous accomplishments that the district had. And then the final thing that I want to share with you is that there's also an international component to our collaboration. We live in a very small world, and technology has made the world a very tight place. And we have a growing collaboration specifically with the Hong Kong Environmental Protection Department. And we're going to be participating with them, trying to share some lessons, learning some of the ideas that they are trying to implement to deal with the same thing we're dealing with: transportation emissions, sustainable development. How do we continue to make progress on our simultaneous goals for clean air and carbon reductions? And then the final thing I want to put before you, and this is more of an action item for you because I know that some of you have attended this workshop conference in the past, is the New Partners for Smart Growth Conference is coming up. It's not until February, but the reason I'm putting this before you is because we need to submit registration. And I know that on behalf of the district, a few of you in the past have attended. So I'm going to be reaching out to you, or the clerk of the board is going to be following up with you to make sure that if you're interested in attending, which I hope you are, that you let us know so that we can sign you up and take care of the paperwork. So that is my report, my last report for 2017. Unless you have any questions or comments, I can give it back to Chair Terry. Welcome.
Thank you. Director Harris.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to just say a couple of words about the Rio Velo event. It happened in my district, and I attended. It was really a lot of fun, and one of the things that captured people's interest a lot were the electric assist bikes. You know, that opens up cycling to a lot of people who might not have the physical capability or stamina to do bicycling and so don't attempt it. But they were a lot of fun, and it's a really interesting technology. I'd also like to point out that as we roll out bike share in Sacramento, there will be an electric assist component. Again, I think that that will open up the world of cycling to a lot more people.
Thank you. Director Guerra?
Thank you very much. I know that we have the save the date there for the new Partners for Smart Growth. I had an opportunity to go over last year, the first time with Board Member Hanson, and I do encourage folks that the fact that did you make it out last year too? And Board Member Harris, but if a good showing there, particularly that it's in San Francisco, I thought that was a great place to look at what other cities are doing throughout the region without having to travel to those cities too at that same time. But very worthwhile conference. Of most that I've ever gone to.
Thank you. Director Hanson?
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that and say, as the Vice Chair of the Local Government Commission, I appreciated all of the engagement from this board, of our members, and of our staff, the long history of it. But it's been a long time since it's been in San Francisco, so since we have the opportunity to have it so close, it'd be wonderful to see folks attend if you can. The other thing, too, is at a lot of these events, we meet people from other cities and places, much like when we go on study mission or cap to cap. We come back with ideas, both for our region, but we also get validation a lot of times for the things we've been working on. A lot of times we don't understand the impact of the things we are doing, but when we hear from other regions their challenges, and we're like, oh yeah, we did that 5 years ago, or we're working on that, and this is our answer, it makes us feel better about the challenges we face because we are facing them. So it's a really worthwhile event, and thank you, Alberto, for allowing us to continue to participate.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the executive? No? Okay, so with that, we will move on to, well, we have closed session next, but let's go ahead and take the consent calendar.
Move approval?
Second.
Roll call, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, consent calendar is agreed to. And with that, we will recess or adjourn into closed session. Okay, with that, we're back in session, and we'll move on to the discussion calendar, advantages and benefits of climate action plans. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Council, if you would report out of closed session.
The board authorized the District Council to file an amicus brief in the case of Valero Refining Company versus the Hearing Board of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District by unanimous vote. Oh, sorry, the case concerns the correct standard of review when the Hearing Board is hearing an appeal by the, to a decision of the district.
Really briefly, Director Hanson, you had a comment about closed session?
No, not about closed session.
Okay.
A comment I forgot to make on the consent calendar, and it's really a great opportunity to recognize Kathy Pittard, our district council. She's extended her employment with us for another 3 years, which is phenomenal. You've done a wonderful job for the organization and serving the board, and just want to thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And we're going to get the most out of you over these next 3 years and beyond.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm just waiting for my presentation to load. Good morning, Chair Terry and members of the board. My name is Shelley Jang, and I'm the Climate Change Coordinator at the Air District. As several jurisdictions in Sacramento County are going through the process of developing a climate action plan, we'd like to take this opportunity to present to you briefly on how developing a climate action plan can provide a multitude of benefits, not just for the local jurisdiction, but also for project developers, the local economy, and communities. Climate action plans are comprehensive roadmaps that help jurisdictions to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions and achieve other climate and environmental goals. However, I'm here today not to talk about how climate action plans can help reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but about how they can assist developers in streamlining and simplifying the CEQA and environmental review process, while also guiding communities to become more resilient to increasing hazards like wildfires, flooding, drought, and extreme heat. First, here is an overview of the status of climate action plans in California. So far, 228 local governments in California have already adopted climate action plans, including the counties of Yolo and Sutter, as well as the cities of Sacramento, Elk Grove, Citrus Heights, Lodi, and Stockton. So far, 172 local governments are also in the process of developing climate action plans, and this includes Sacramento County, Placer County, Galt, Folsom, and Truckee. One major benefit of developing a climate action plan is that it provides clear guidance for developers and simplifies the CEQA and environmental process for them. Cities in a local jurisdiction with a climate action plan can take advantage of CEQA streamlining benefits that they cannot without a climate action plan. One example of this is that they would not have to conduct their own analysis of their current and future greenhouse gas emissions. This can result in considerable savings in time, costs, and paperwork for developers. To take advantage of these streamlining benefits, jurisdictions must, the project must follow the clear upfront expectations and measures set out in the climate action plan, such as measures for reducing building energy use. These expectations are set out ahead of time and are applied equally across the jurisdiction and are arrived at through a public review process. One good example of this is the case of Newhall Ranch in Southern California. Newhall Ranch in Southern California was required, because it did not have a climate action plan, was required to reduce all of its net future emissions. This means that it has to take care of all emissions, including from transportation sector, on its own. However, if it had been in a jurisdiction with a climate action plan, it would have been able to rely on the climate action plan's community-wide approach. The climate action plan would have required actors and stakeholders in other sectors, such as transportation, to reduce their emissions, and it would have been responsible for only a much smaller portion of mitigation measures. This brings me to my next point. Newhall Ranch was required to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions to no net increase levels as a result of a court case and lengthy lawsuit process. Adopting a climate action plan can help project developers avoid the risk of legal challenges and reduce costs. This is because the California courts have determined climate action plans to be an adequate way to fulfill CEQA analysis requirements. Courts have accepted climate action plans as one effective way for projects to demonstrate that they are meeting greenhouse gas emissions reduction goals. At the same time, jurisdictions must also make sure that their climate action plans are adequate to meet their own pre-established conditions. As an example, the County of San Diego was required to redo its climate action plan by the courts after it found that its first version did not meet the mitigation measures established in its own general plan. By doing a climate action plan, jurisdictions can help their developers avoid the risk of lengthy CEQA lawsuits. A climate action plan can also achieve many other benefits for jurisdictions, including helping to meet other state requirements and goals. A new law, SB 379, now requires jurisdictions to consider climate vulnerability hazards in its general plan, safety, and housing elements. A climate action plan can also meet this goal if it includes a climate vulnerability assessment and other adaptation strategies. This can help jurisdictions protect its citizens and businesses from hazards like extreme weather and flooding, ensuring a comprehensive look at all hazards that could affect the community. We have all seen the recent wildfires in the North Bay, in Lake County, and in Butte County, and their terrible consequences for residents and businesses. 40% of small businesses never reopen after a natural disaster because many of them lack the resources and financial capacity to undertake repair costs and reopen. A climate action plan that includes adaptation measures can help raise the baseline level of economic resilience for a community through improving risk planning, investing in infrastructure, and undertaking improved emergency and hazard planning. This can help small businesses through minimizing downtime and business disruptions, reducing uninsured losses and lost revenue, and for the local jurisdiction, it can help in reducing road repair costs and other infrastructure repair costs. Climate change will affect a community's economic productivity and output. Extreme heat will reduce worker productivity and place risks on the health risks for outdoor workers. For every 1.85 Fahrenheit degrees in average temperatures for Sacramento County, economic output for the county is also predicted to decline by 4%. However, a climate action plan can help reverse this trend. Supportive policies can encourage the development of advanced technologies such as vehicles and fuels and encourage clean energy startups in the jurisdiction. Workers in high-performing, energy-efficient buildings are demonstrated to score better on cognitive function tests and have higher productivity and better health. And I apologize, but the last section of the slide is slightly cut off. But it says that California's energy efficiency and renewable energy policies have resulted in 1.5 million full-time jobs in the state since 2008. And finally, I want to note that climate action plan strategies can have multiple social, health, and environmental benefits. Climate action plans can help improve air quality and reduce the rates of obesity, diabetes, and other chronic diseases, improve property values, decrease the urban heat island effect, and improve neighborhood livability and quality of life. In conclusion, we would like to recommend that local jurisdictions adopt robust, comprehensive climate action plans that can reduce greenhouse gas emissions while strengthening the local economy, assisting developers with CEQA review, and protecting communities from hazards like flooding, fire, and drought. We would like to offer our assistance to any jurisdictions within our footprint in their work to develop climate action plans, climate adaptation plans, and vulnerability assessments. You can also find this information enclosed in the white paper with your board packet. I'm happy to take any questions you may have, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Before we take board questions, we do have a public comment for this.
We do. Jennifer Fenton.
Is this one on? Okay. Do I go this one?
Yeah, if you want to.
All right. Let's scooch over. Good morning, Chair Terry and directors. I'm Jennifer Fenton with Breathe California here in Sacramento region. We saw this was on the agenda and just wanted to add our support that a robust climate action plan for the area would do a lot for the region. And this is a perfect example of our history of partnering with businesses and the health community to just do it right the first time. So to have a robust plan puts health and safety right in line with business interests, and so there's a lot of resources available, and so we appreciate the district taking a lead on this and your respective jurisdictions and all the work that they've done already, and then we just encourage the rest of you to keep going, and we're here to support you. I know there's a lot of resources out there, so thank you.
Thank you. And we have a question from Director Natoli.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Shelley, thank you for your presentation. I wanted to just go back to the slide where you had pointed out that for nearly every, up, I guess, 1.8 Fahrenheit increase in average temperature, that there's a prediction that you lose 4% of productivity. And you pointed out that for those that are working outside or outside activities. Was there a study done that was specific to Sacramento County? Is that some data that's extrapolated from other studies? And I guess I'm just curious as to what that's drawn from. Not that I doubt it. I'm curious about that.
Oh, yes. It was a nationwide study that was conducted by UC Berkeley. It was published just this year, and it calculated the impact on economic output for every county in the United States from climate change. And they based it on every 1 degree Celsius in increase in average temperatures, which is why it translates into 1.8 Fahrenheit, sort of a funny number.
And what sort of activities did they look at? I mean, was it, everything from construction to, yard maintenance?
I think it took an economy-wide approach, so looking at things like agricultural output and all the other sectors.
So it did factor in agricultural output as well. So some counties might be more affected or less affected depending upon what the nature of their land use was in their jurisdiction. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So item 11, we'll move on to the Check Before You Burn program. 'Tis the season, huh?
Good morning, Chair Terry and members of the board. My name is Angela Thompson. I'm a program supervisor in the Stationary Source Division, and I'm here today to talk with you about our Check Before You Burn program. You should all have a new brochure in front of you. We will be providing more of these brochures to you, and if you would like some today, our communications office has them. We wanted to bring this item forward to familiarize new members of the board and also to share the success we've had with the program and the continued importance. Okay, Check Before You Burn comes from Rule 421, which was adopted in 2007 by the board. It's the mandatory episodic curtailment of wood and other solid fuel, and it was adopted for 2 reasons: to improve public health and to help meet the 2006 PM 2.5 federal attainment standard. This is very important because PM 2.5 is a fine particulate and it can get into the bloodstream, and besides contributing to aggravated asthma and chronic bronchitis, it can also contribute to heart disease, stroke, and premature death. So you may wonder how we ended up regulating burning. When looking at the inventory data for our jurisdiction, we can see that during the winter months, the majority of PM 2.5 comes from wood smoke. So this program works, it applies through the months of November through February, so we're about to come into those months right now, and it includes holidays. We like to say that air pollution doesn't take a holiday, so we don't either. There are 2 different types of days where burning is restricted or prohibited, and this applies to all solid fuel, not just wood. It also includes pellets and manufactured logs, and it applies to residents and businesses. This is the way the public sees how you check before you burn. On the bottom, you can see there's 2 categories: legal to burn and burning discouraged. And then we have stage 1, which is when burning is restricted. You are allowed to burn on stage 1 days if you have a certified insert or wood stove or a pellet stove. Note that it's a very small concentration where that stage kicks in. And then we have stage 2, burning discouraged, and that is when all burning is prohibited. So there are 6 ways to check before you burn. You can download the free Sacramento Regional Air Quality app. This is our 2nd year with this app. We're already up to 15,000 downloads. You can call the No Burn line. You can read the Sacramento Bee weather page, sign up for alerts at sparetheair.com, or visit airquality.org, or you can follow us on Twitter. This program can only be successful if the public is aware of the program. This year we are expanding our community engagement and are adding an electronic toolkit that will be sent to all board members and partners and our partners with outreach information on the program so that you can help us increase community awareness. The district's communication office implements a very comprehensive outreach program. Besides public relations and advertising, we utilize partnerships and social media. Examples of this would be outdoor billboard advertising that you can see, and we use Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. And here is a print of everything that would be in print advertising this season. So you can see we get the word out there for a lot of different communities. So switching gears, this slide shows the tally of days where burning is legal and where burning is prohibited or restricted. What I wanted to emphasize with this slide is that you can see that the majority of time residents are able to burn. It's during the stage 1 and the stage 2 days that it is prohibited or restricted. On average, during the course of the history of this program, that comes out to be about 30 days per season. And you may notice that 15-16 was a lot lower than the other years, and that's really just due to weather and atmospheric conditions. So the final element of this program is the enforcement, and this is where we interact heavily with the community. We run an enforcement program where we do surveillance on stage 1 and stage 2 days. We respond to complaints, telephone and online, and we do after hours and holiday work. We understand that these are people's homes, and our inspectors take a very hands-off approach. Inspectors do not enter private property. Violations are mailed to the residents, and first-time violators have the option to take an exam or pay a $50 penalty. In addition to the enforcement, we also run an exemption program where residents who have no other source of heat or have financial hardship conditions can apply for a waiver. Here are our statistics for the last 3 years of waivers, violations, and complaints that we've received. You can see that those also follow a similar trend to the burning days. So when we don't have many restricted days, we tend not to have as many violations or complaints. So to wrap it up, we really want to stress that this program has been extremely, extremely effective. As you can see from the chart, when the program began, we immediately had a steady improvement in our air quality, and we are currently meeting our federal PM 2.5 standard. But this program is what keeps us there, and so it remains incredibly important that we continue this program. So if you have any questions, I can take those now. And if not, thank you for your time.
First, we have Director Hansen.
I just have a question, especially after the wildfires and the summer we had with a lot of Spare the Air days, how we might be able to integrate these alerts into some more ongoing public health opportunities rather than through the district alone. I know Sacramento County puts out alerts. My weather app called WeatherBug shows me pollen, it shows me, UV. Is there a way to get into some of those things, this information about check before you burn and spare the air, so that it's more of a present consideration rather than people having to go find it? And I don't expect that you know that now, but I think it would be good if we can find a way to proactively integrate into those distribution methods for information. So rather than have to proactively find it, it's being proactively pushed out through those channels.
That's an excellent suggestion, and we'll take that back.
Yeah. This is actually a very timely suggestion because, as you know, we're gearing up with our communications strategy, and this is the kind of thing that we certainly want to get from you. I wanted to put this before you, and the reason we wanted to have the staff presentation is because obviously this is one of our most important programs.
Yeah.
Unlike ozone, where you heard us say we're making good progress, on PM, you can see how close we are to the standard. So we're making good progress, but we cannot let up, and this is going to be one of the key programs to help us achieve that. And I know for some of you, this is a relatively new program. It doesn't get past us, the fact that it is a difficult and controversial program, but it is absolutely essential to maintain our progress. So anything we can do, any other ideas that you have to improve communication, we'd be more than happy to hear that from you.
Just as a quick follow-up, I know the wildfires 2 summers ago, I think it was, that were in the Sierras really impacted our attainment. Do we know yet at all about how the wildfires that just have happened in the North Bay will affect our attainment?
We're in the middle of assessing that information. Obviously, it's too recent, and the fact that there is a structure to take into consideration how these unexpected events impact our ability to comply with the standards or not. it's something that we are paying very close attention to. But absolutely, the wildfires don't make our job easier, and unfortunately, they're only expected to get worse and worse.
So the last thing I'd just say is maybe in the wildfire situation, I know that oftentimes it'll be far away, but we'll walk outside and we can feel it in our lungs or in our eyes. I don't know if we want to think about from a public health standpoint how to communicate smoke, because I know that's come up with that uncontrolled burn, or, well, it was controlled before it was uncontrolled. Burn in Yolo County affected Sacramento County, but maybe there is a way to communicate that, because I think the public is becoming more aware of the dangers of wildfire smoke, even when it's not a fire from our own community.
There is definitely a way, and obviously we work very closely with the county health officer. We are trying to strengthen communication with our fellow districts because like we saw recently, what happens there can impact us and vice versa. So these are all actions that are a work in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I would just echo what Director Hansen said, that besides Facebook, the second most used app is the Weather Channel, and it can show you allergies, it can show you cold and flu, but it doesn't show you not to burn. So if we can ever crack that nut, that'd be a great thing. With that, Director Carr.
Yes, could you go back to the communications outreach slide? Went by rather quickly.
This one?
The next one.
The other way.
The other way, yeah.
The one with all the print ads?
Yes.
Okay.
Are any of these in Spanish or any other language?
Let me have Lori from our communications office address that.
Good morning, Directors. Lori Kobza in the Communications Office at the Air District. There used to be 2 Spanish language publications. They no longer exist. So we are in the process of evaluating other outreach and advertising mechanisms for advertising. But the 2 print publications that we used to put things in, El Hispano, and I think another one was called Lavada, are now gone. So we are looking into that.
And what about radio stations?
Radio stations, I'm currently in the process of getting the entire media by plan, and I will have that on Monday of next week. We have a limited advertising budget. We are looking at live reads with the radio stations. However, I want to make clear to the board, the Check Before You Burn program is not set up in the same way that Spare the Air is, where there is a substantial amount of federal CMAQ funding for episodic advertising during Spare the Air. When we have a Spare the Air alert, we actually have money available to buy television and radio advertising immediately. We do not have that for Check Before You Burn. So the program for Check Before You Burn advertising is primarily to make the public aware of the Check Before You Burn program and give them all of the ways that are available to them to check before they light a fire.
And I see that the major African-American newspaper, The Observer, is not on the list.
I don't know why the Observer is not on that list, so I will take that and look into that, Director Carr. We have done advertising with the Observer before.
And we've done a lot of work on reaching out to the diverse community that we represent. So when we do our ride around, I'd like to bring some information with me, that some of these radio stations do advertising for free. They will do public service, like the Hmong radio station, anytime you want to get on it, to talk about today is a Spare the Air day, because they're not going to read any of these publications. And
no, and we do have that. We work with Crossings Communications for multicultural advertising and outreach avenues, and they're in multiple languages. And then we'll be happy to take any of the input that you have on other ways to reach those populations. We'll appreciate it very much.
Sure.
And certainly, as you and I discussed, Director Carr, anything that we can do to expand our sphere in these non-traditional
I'll bring it with
media
me when we
events.
do our ride around.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Any other questions for me?
Yeah, we have quite a few folks. Well, I'm sorry. Not sure you in particular. Director Nguyen?
Director Carr started the conversation. It's exactly what I was going to say. As I looked at the advertising list, I didn't see any ethnic media on here. I'd also push that we have it in the various different languages, and I can certainly assist with that. My staff do speak the various different languages, and we have done interpretation and translations of materials before for the county to assist in that. Also, there are service providing organizations in town that can definitely hand these out to our clients that come into our office to receive services. As I was looking at this, and the penalty fee of $50 or take the wood smoke awareness exam, unless that's in language, the folks that are in the community that don't read the English language or understand are going to fail that exam. So I hope that exam is also in the various different languages as well too. So I just want to make sure we're all cognizant that we have a very diverse community here, and that we make sure that they are receiving the information and that they are aware of this change.
No, and we appreciate that. And I would also like to point out that one thing that Angela mentioned, we do have a 9-page comprehensive public outreach plan for Check Before You Burn. This is only 3 little slides. So we do have a complete multicultural outreach effort. All of our brochures that you see there, it is in all languages or 4 languages. We have it translated into Russian, Hmong, Spanish, as well as the English one. The translations in Spanish, Russian, and Hmong are currently underway, and once that's completed, then we will have those publications as well. And we do promote in language, and we have close to 2,000 partners and a whole new multicultural outreach component for the 2017-18 season. So thank you very much. I'll make sure that I get back to you actually and share some of those things and take some of your input so that we make sure that we're getting into the places where we need to be.
Wonderful, thank you.
Absolutely.
Really good information to share with the entire board.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Director Natoli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of quick questions. One, just as we talk about information sharing, it would seem to me that a couple other sources that are available to us, the channel this is being broadcast on, Metro Cable Channel 14, I would think that that's up every day. It's not always live, but there would be the ability to run this information on that channel, assuming they could make that linkage. And also websites. I know the county has a website in which there's daily information coming out. Again, maybe linking to that, if nothing else, so that those links are there. Maybe they already exist. But I just think there's ways that people seek out information in different ways, different languages, and I think you've made it pretty accessible. But I know that a couple times just with the printed newspaper that it either was a no burn or it was a restricted, and then information changed. And so, if you called in, it was different than that. There was a couple times last year, if I recall.
Occasionally there will be a same-day change. It doesn't happen very often. And just so the directors do know, if there is a same-day change where, let's say on a hypothetical Tuesday, Wednesday, on a Tuesday we will state that Wednesday is a no-burn day. And then for some reason it isn't, or for some reason it wasn't a no-burn day, but it becomes one. There's no enforcement.
Okay, that's good.
We can't expect the public to check 5-6 times a day to know whether it's burn or no burn. So once it's out, it's out. And if we had stated that it was going to be burning discouraged on a Wednesday, and we get the forecast call at 10:45 and conditions have changed, and it's going to be a stage 1 or a stage 2, there will be no enforcement. The hope, however, is that the people who do check in the afternoon, who are getting ready to burn at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock at night, they will then see that no burn. They will not burn, and they'll reduce the emissions, which improves the health for all of our communities.
Very good, thanks.
You're welcome.
A couple other questions, and just the data on the page that showed the program effectiveness. We're in third quarter, entering fourth quarter of the calendar year actually for 2017, and we don't have that chart. Doesn't have 2015 or 16 on there. Why is that?
Mark?
You're there.
That's this chart, right?
That's that chart right there. Yeah, that's the chart.
Wait, so are you referring to the chart for the air quality data presented through, or were you talking about the statistics on the? Well, she had a separate table with 15, 16 data in there as well.
No, no, this one right here. Okay. Because again, to Alberto's comment too, we're real close, but I don't know where we were going back almost 3 years ago now. I mean, obviously this year is current, but
certainly we actually do have the numbers for the next year as well. It is also fortunately below the line, which is a good thing. So real quickly, for the purposes of this graph, it is a 3-year rolling average. So it's not just where you are in each year, but you have to look back at the last 3 years of data. It's also at what point the EPA has formally approved the data. And so we're just sort of cognizant in terms of how we present that. But the data for 15 and 16 were below.
Okay.
So it's
Right, it's fairly close to that.
Does the trend continue, or is it flat? I mean,
It's mostly flat at the moment. And just for a side note, for 2016, and this is where we have to be very careful on, is we have two sets of data coming. There's the final data that's actually the weighed filters that have been blessed and approved, if you will, and we also have the initial electronic data. So the electronic data for 2016, if you'd asked me right at the end of 2016, we actually thought we were above. Not the 3-year average, but for that year we thought we were above. Fortunately, when the weighed samples and the official results came in, we were below. Okay. And so that's part of that quality assurance, quality check that goes into the data, is just that the electronics can vary a little bit from the official weight samples.
Making sure that it's calibrated to the point.
Correct.
Okay, that helps. One last question, and this goes to the exemptions. In that chart that has those on there, right there. So generally, what's the breakout of the 208 exemptions? How many sole source, medical hardship, and or financial hardship? What kind of, just again, I don't need to have specific. What is that? 50-50? Is it 80-20?
The majority are sole source, and then there's a percentage of hardships, and there's very few medical, like about less than 10.
And so the reason we have them do that annually versus maybe, every other year, I mean, obviously there's a paperwork trail behind that.
Well, the rule requires every year for the financial hardship. For the sole source, we're working, and we actually this year are implementing where we grant the exemption for more than 1 year, and then we just audit parcel view or county records to make less of a burden on members of the public.
As well as staff, too, because there's a bookkeeping,
yes.
you can pull up. Okay, very good. Thanks. Sorry.
Director Daniels.
Thank you. So we have these attainment goals, guidelines, requirements that we have to hit or want to hit, and we spend tens of millions of dollars to hit them, and then California lights on fire, and all this smoke comes here. And is there no process to where we actually can file like a waiver for a time period so that it doesn't falsely impact the goals or the numbers as we record them? So I'm going to ask that first, I guess.
There absolutely is, and in fact, the federal program, and because of the real challenge that these unexpected events present, does have a mechanism. It's not a waiver. It's a process for quantifying and considering the impact of so-called exceptional events, like a wildfire. Because they absolutely do impact our ability to not only meet but also maintain the standards. So there is a process. It's not an easy process. It's data-driven process, so it puts a burden on agencies like us, where we have to be constantly looking out to make sure that we collect the right information, because it's an after-the-fact process. You collect the information, and then you go back and make a request to consider.
It seems to me that should be a very high process, because if we don't do that, then we're actually falsely indicating the results of our efforts. And if we're falsely indicating the results of our efforts, then we may push money into efforts that is not really justified in that sense. That if we can't actually do something about the air coming in from the Bay Area or wherever, then that should be noted. And I think that as a board, we should know when we have done or created efforts to get that waiver, and I know it's not a waiver, but to get that exemption of that data and the results of it. And it should be also simplified. How difficult is it to indicate, Santa Rosa's on fire, and so all the smoke is here. We sit in a bowl, and so everything comes here and sits here. And we should be able to use that in a way that's beneficial to us.
So this is a really good question, and I'm going to use it as an opportunity to maybe tee up an information item sometime next year, because PM is going to continue to be our #1 challenge. The second thing is, you're absolutely right. There needs to be a process where it's easier on us to be able to account for this. But there's another dimension that we need to mind, and that is, this is all about protecting health, right? So our citizens, whether it's smoke, whether it's actual emissions from a truck or anything in between, what they're going to be interested in is we got to figure out how to reduce these emissions, whatever they come from. And the reason I'm going there is because this takes us into a whole different area of air quality management that has to do with how we manage our forests. And there's a lot of discussion at the moment because, as you can imagine, that is not only not an easy thing to do, but it's also a very expensive thing to do. So you're absolutely right. This is going to be an evolving topic because as we go forward, we're going to see more extreme wildfires, and there's going to be more of them. And districts like ours that are making progress on everything else are going to continue to be challenged because it's other sources. So it is going to force us into new dimensions, if you will. It's what's happening right now. So I appreciate the question. You're absolutely right. And with your concurrence, maybe this is one topic that we can tackle more specifically sometime next year.
Thank you. Just a couple comments from myself. One is, with all the advertising that we're spending, I hope one of the other things, do we control the Spare the Air app? Is that ours? I think I've asked this question in the past.
First of all, our app is the Sacramento Region Air Quality app. It's not technically a Spare the Air app, so I want to make that clear so that when people are searching for it in their app store, if they put Spare the Air, they might go somewhere else, but it's not ours. Ours is,
okay, it'll take you there too. You're right. It does say Sacramento Region
Sacramento Region Air Quality app. And with
and
that
a little
app,
heart with Spare the Air right
yeah, exactly. Okay. And with the Sacramento Region Air Quality app, once the burn status begins November 1st, it will also be pushed out. So when people are looking at Sacramento County, it will show them what the daily burn status is.
Okay.
It's just right now we don't have a burn status, so it doesn't show up until November 1st, and then it'll go through February 28th.
So a couple things. One is it's not iPad compatible. So
yeah, it isn't.
So yeah, you gotta
I know.
Turn the whole thing over. I'm not sure how much that costs. So just make that so that
we'll look
use
into that,
things.
Chair Terry. Yes.
And I think I asked this question probably a few years ago too, but maybe it's the sparetheair.com website. Is that a shared website? Because I remember at some point there's a difference between this app and the Check Before You Burn website and what the rest of the regions are using and the data, because we're the only one with a Check Before You Burn program.
Correct.
There are other ones that have, you shouldn't burn today, but there's no teeth to the enforcement of it. So have we taken any more steps towards aligning those two resources?
Are you asking if we're aligning with the other air districts, or I want to make sure I understand the question?
Well, and this has been a while since this happened to me, but I do remember a neighbor of mine was commenting that it was unhealthy air for 2 weeks, and if you look, and that was according to, I think, sparetheair.com, and then if she had gone to our website, she would have seen that there were plenty of days that you could burn, and the air was not unhealthy, I guess.
Couple of things.
So there's been inconsistencies between our resources and I think the regional resource.
Sometimes it's not an issue with the resources themselves. It's an understanding on the part of the public, and it's difficult sometimes to get them to understand that when we call a no burn day for Check Before You Burn, it's not because the air quality is going to be unhealthy. It's totally different than Spare the Air.
Right.
The point of Check Before You Burn is to prevent that unhealthy air quality. So we will call a no burn before it's getting into that unhealthy stage, because we're wanting to reduce those emissions so that we don't have a federal exceedance. Whereas with Spare the Air and that alert, that's going out when we know the air quality is going to be unhealthy. We're wanting people to take steps to protect their health, reduce driving, to reduce emissions. So they're very different programs because they, of course, are attacking two different pollutants. But one thing that we are doing this year, to make you all aware, we are going to be transitioning, and we're right now approving the JavaScript coding and whatnot right now. The Check Before You Burn page for the last 10 years has resided on a page on sparetheair.com. The reasons for that are many. I'd be happy to talk to any of you afterwards about why that's been that way. But for this season, it will no longer be so. There will still be a link on sparetheair.com that says Check Before You Burn, but when people click on it, they are going to go to the Sac Metro AQMD's website, airquality.org, where all of the burn information is going to reside. Because it is only our county and our jurisdiction that does have a law. The only other one in our region is the Olo Solano Air Quality Management District, and their Don't Light Tonight program is voluntary in nature, so as you said and you're aware, there's no teeth to it. El Dorado does not have a program. Placer County does not have any type of an episodic program. They're all approaching reducing PM 2.5 in different ways. So we are the only ones that have a law, but soon we're working to eliminate that public confusion as far as, are we looking at a regional site and now we're only going to a county or vice versa. So we're taking it off of sparetheair.com and putting it only on to airquality.org. But again, it's going to be no burn, and the air quality might not be unhealthy.
Yeah,
and that's the point.
And my point, and I'm looking back at the website now, it more has to do with the green, yellow, and red dots.
Yes.
So you could have a red dot and still be able to burn, and vice versa. And so people will go on here and think, oh, it's bad air quality, but it doesn't match up to what you're talking about. So that probably will cut down on some of the confusion. The last comment I had was, and I know the city of Sacramento has some partnerships with electronic billboards. I'm not sure what their rights are. I know in my city, one of the billboards, we have rights to 1/8 of the time. So if there's an interest from the district in utilizing that,
that's helpful to know.
So the last one that we approved, we negotiated, or actually it was offered, but out of the 8 clicks, one of them was ours. So I don't know if the city...
We do, and we can put PSAs up. We just need the content.
Okay.
And to coordinate with Clear Channel on those.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think 50% of the time we don't have content to give them, so...
That's fantastic, because we work with Clear Channel on all of that, and the digital outdoor billboards we use very aggressively during the Spare the Air season in the summer. For Check Before You Burn, the money is a lot different, so to be able to have access to your cities for that, that's fantastic. I'll reach out to you and we'll work on that.
Yeah, and ours, our Clear Channel one, they're great to work with, but we don't have rights to that. Our Outfront Media one does.
Okay, Outfront. All right, we work with them too.
Which I think used to be CBS something or other.
Could I add one comment to your...
Go ahead.
Alberto, as we do this communication strategy, I think there's been a lot of fragmentation in government agencies about how we deliver certain programs, and having people go to all these different places for similar information becomes confusing and probably less effective. So how we can direct people to one source that can give them that's adaptable to different devices and is friendly is probably going to be the best ultimate way to go. And that will take an investment in technology probably, but also a rethinking of where we are. It used to be that everybody designed a different app for a different purpose, but the explosion of apps is sort of like pollen. It's too much.
Yeah. So. No, I agree, and as I was listening to your comments, there is room for improvement. We do need to think of a game plan. Again, it may not get done, next month or what have you, but I think it would be good for us to think about, how do we get to this point, like you said, where it's fully transparent so that people can go to one place, and whether it's Check Before You Burn or Spare the Air or anything else in between, make it easier. So the point is well taken. We'll come back to you with some ideas.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to item 12, overview of AB 1132, non-vehicular air pollution order for abatement.
So this is the last item. Maybe I can just do a quick intro before Ms. Rogers gets set up. This was new legislation that just recently got enacted, and we had a couple of our directors express some interest in just getting a little bit more better understanding in terms of what this is. So we thought that we'd bring you a brief presentation just to kind of walk you through what the new law is about.
Thank you, Alberto. Good morning, Chair Terry and members of the board. My name is Amy Roberts. I'm a program manager for the enforcement section in the Stationary Sources Division here at the district. And with that, Alberto's already introduced that, but Kathy Pittard and I will be doing the overview for you today of AB 1132. First of all, I'll be talking to you about why exactly, giving you some background about why AB 1132 was adopted. Kathy will then give you an overview of the language and the process that AB 1132 grants us. And finally, I'll come back to you and round out the presentation with some of the impacts that AB 1132 may have for the district, for our regulated sources, and for communities here in our region.
You have a clicker?
I do. Okay, first of all, why was AB 1132 adopted? Well, first of all, many of you probably have heard some of the cases that have happened in the South Coast region. The South Coast Air Quality Management District has had many cases over the past several years where toxic air contaminants were released and were affecting the communities in those regions significantly. One prime example of this happened in the city of Paramount. Many complaints started to be received by the air district there in 2012-2013 timeframe about a metal odor that they were detecting in the area. The South Coast Air District performed air monitoring in that area. They did investigations on the ground, and what came from that investigation and the air monitoring was somewhat of a surprise to them. What they found were hotspots of hexavalent chromium up to 350 times higher than background levels. This was something that was of a major concern for them, and when they were able to fully find out what sources were emitting this hexavalent chromium, they found two sources that were the most likely. When they put orders to those two sources, one of them complied and immediately curtailed their operations when there were levels that were too high. One of those sources, Anaplex, did not, and it took more than a month before they were coming back into compliance and curtailing their operations, but it took some legal challenges to them, and it was a difficult process. So as you can see, those communities were further exposed without an ability for the Air District to promptly act. Hexavalent chromium and many of the toxic air pollutants are carcinogens. This one in particular does create an imminent health risk. There are many short-term and long-term effects. As I said, it's a carcinogen, and there's reproductive harm that can be caused from hexavalent chromium exposure. The typical process that air districts had available to them was a standard abatement process. In that, there is a public notification period that's required. There's also the need to set up the meeting and schedule with all of the hearing board members. And there's also the potential that action can be delayed because sources can do legal challenges or postpone the hearing for certain reasons. It can take up to a month or months, depending on the situation, for prompt action to actually occur. There are agencies that do have authority built into legal language. The Clean Air Act, for example, grants the EPA authority to act promptly when they've established an imminent and substantial endangerment. The Clean Air Act, the California Health and Safety Code also provides legal language for the Department of Toxic Substances Control and the State Water Resources Control Board to act also in this manner when they do deem that there is an emergency situation occurring. So as you can see, the importance of this need for local air districts also to be able to enact this when possible. Because of the many delays that the South Coast Air District experienced, and because of the seriousness of the nature of those emissions, they sought legislation and sponsored AB 1132. This legislation was passed by the Senate and Assembly back in July of this year and promptly was signed by the governor in August. This will go into effect January 1st of 2018, and it will add language to the California Health and Safety Code for local air districts to go ahead and have interim abatement order authority. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Kathy so she can review the process.
So the process is actually pretty well laid out in the authorizing legislation. It's a significant new power, obviously, on the part of the APCO. The first step that he takes is to determine whether or not he believes, as a preliminary matter, that there is an imminent and substantial endangerment to public health or to the environment. Once he makes that determination, he's required to make a good faith effort to reach out to the source of that contamination and work towards an agreement. As part of that process, the source can suggest different control measures or different ways of approaching the problem, and ideally from there you would reach a stipulated interim order. You'd reach agreement with that source. In the South Coast action that Amy was pointing to earlier, that actually happened. That was the process that happened with one of the sources. There were two sources in that case. In one case, the South Coast Air District was able to get a stipulated agreement with the source. In the other case, they were not. And for that, they had to go to their hearing board. They were under the old process, under the 1132 process. Once it's clear that there is not going to be agreement, the APCO would be authorized to immediately issue a notification. The notification would have to state the grounds for his finding that there's an interim and substantial, or imminent and substantial endangerment threat. And he'll also have to list the procedures that are available to the source to appeal that decision, but then he'll immediately issue the order itself, which will be a stop order to the source, directing them to stop whatever activity it is that's leading to that emission. The next step would be that, and this would be something we would notify the source about, they'll have an opportunity to file what's called a notice of defense. If they file a notice of defense, it means they're appealing the order. We would, within 3 days, have to schedule a hearing before the hearing board. Then that hearing has to occur within 30 days of the date of our receipt of the notice of defense. The hearing board, at any point in the process, can make a determination that there is no longer an endangerment situation, and the interim order issued by the APCO would have no further effect. A final determination on whether or not there is an endangerment order is due 14 days after the conclusion of the hearing process. If there's no final determination in 14 days, the interim order has no further effect. If the hearing's not completed within 30 days, though, the hearing board can do one of two things. They can make a preliminary endangerment finding concurring with the district, and then the interim order will stay into effect, and they'll have to, at the conclusion of their meeting, make their final determination. If they don't take that step, if they don't make the preliminary finding, then the interim order is automatically rescinded. If there's no notice of defense filed, and I don't see how this would ever happen, because either you're going to issue or reach agreement, or you're going to file a notice of defense, but if there is no notice of defense filed, then the order remains in effect until the APCO makes a determination that it's no longer necessary.
Okay. Lastly, I just wanted to cover some of the impacts that may have, first of all, on our district. So as you can see, this does grant us new authority. It is something that we can put into effect, and it's something that is new. It provides us flexibility when we are able to determine that there is a serious emergency and a toxic air contaminant release to be able to act to curtail those operations. For our air district, when we look into the past and our historical record of how many abatement orders we have issued, there's very few. We've only issued a couple in the past 10 years, and those were for, in one company, there was an instance of nuisance that they were causing. In the other instance, it was a company that failed to get a permit to operate in our district. So if you compare that to the South Coast Air District, it is quite different. That doesn't mean that we do not have permitted sources, or maybe even unknown permitted sources in our district that could be of concern and may cause a situation similar to that was found in the South Coast. However, again, if you do a comparison, for example, in the South Coast Air District, they have about 1,100 metal processing facilities, where we have half a dozen or a dozen or more. But it's quite significantly different. So the likeliness of our need to use the interim abatement process is definitely lessened. Lastly, I'd like to say there is because this does grant us new authority, it is something that we do want to exercise judiciously. And we understand that there is obviously a there is a potential for an effect on businesses and definitely communities. So it's a balance that we're going to need to strike. For regulator sources, this could have an impact on them if we did choose to issue an interim abatement order. That might mean that they may have to cease operations or curtail some operation, and that would definitely have an economic impact on them. We're hoping that this new language in AB 1132 will actually spur action and would be a nice mechanism for businesses that are in this situation to be able to provide us that input, as Kathy mentioned, and have stipulated agreements and encourage a rapid decrease of any kind of toxic air emissions. Lastly, the greatest impact of AB 1132, I believe, is for what it can do for communities that might be affected in a longer time frame if we did not have this kind of authority. There's a potential to reduce exposures in a much more timely manner. There's also some concerns. Some communities have talked about the inability to act that air districts or other agencies have, especially in underrepresented communities and environmental justice areas. And while AB 1132 does not specifically call out or highlight environmental justice areas, it is our desire to treat all communities fairly, and we see AB 1132 as a potential way for us to do that. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for staff? I see none requested. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment? Okay. Any board ideas or comments? or announcements? Seeing, Director Gaylor?
If I could, in regards to the last topic within the social media for Spare the Air, who would we direct? I had some ideas on that. Who would I direct those emails to?
You can come to us, and Lori from our Public Information Office can also help out.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay. With that, we stand adjourned.